Listen closely, because messages like this don't appear by accident. They arrive in moments when your soul is shifting, even when your life doesn't look like it. You may not realize it yet, but you're standing at the edge of a comeback so profound that the old you wouldn't even recognize who you're becoming. Pain has a way of disguising transformation. It makes you believe something is being taken from you, when in truth, something is being returned to you: your clarity, your boundaries, your courage, your voice. Carl Jung once said, "There is no coming to consciousness without pain." And you feel that, don't you? That subtle trembling inside you, the sense that your old patterns don't fit anymore, that the people you once tolerated now drain you, that the spaces where you used to shrink can no longer hold you. Why do you think that is? It's because something in you is waking up, the part of you that refuses to live blind, the part that finally understands the cost of staying small, the part that knows deep down that losing yourself was the real danger all along. You're noticing things now, the tone in someone's voice, the shift in your own energy, the way you used to abandon your needs just to keep the peace. You're catching it. You're pausing. You're choosing differently. This is self-mastery beginning to take form. This is your comeback, quietly activating. And here's the truth most people never confront. Before every great comeback, life places you in situations where you must face the very patterns that once controlled you, not to punish you, but to train you, to refine you, to strengthen the muscle of your inner authority. Think about your recent experiences, the conflict, the disappointment, the sudden silence from someone you trusted, the unexpected shift in your path. Why did it shake you so deeply? Because it touched the exact emotional pattern your soul is trying to break. You didn't stumble into these moments. You were brought to them, guided into them, placed there so you could finally see the dynamics clearly. Look at how you respond now compared to before. You don't jump to explain yourself. You don't chase. You don't plead. You don't shrink. You're learning to observe, to breathe, to respond instead of react. This is emotional evolution. This is what it feels like when your nervous system stops running your life and your awareness starts taking the lead. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events." Realize this and you will find strength. You're beginning to realize it. You're starting to feel the shift in your inner world, a growing steadiness, a quiet intelligence, a new level of self-respect that doesn't need to be loud. You can sense your comeback forming, not in big explosions, but in small sacred inner revolutions. The moment you began listening to your intuition, you started your comeback. The moment you stopped begging for clarity, you stepped into your comeback. The moment you outgrew the version of you that tolerated everything, your comeback began breathing. And now you can feel it, can't you? That tingling in your chest, that heavy release in your shoulders, that deep exhale you didn't know you were holding. You're not falling apart. You're falling into yourself. Every time you say no where you once said yes, every time you walk away from chaos, every time you hold your truth steady, you are rebuilding a life that matches who you truly are. But let me ask you something, and be honest with yourself. Why did it take pain to wake you up? Why did life have to remove people, patterns, and comforts to get your attention? Because growth rarely whispers. It disrupts. It exposes. It calls out every place where you've been hiding. It shows you who is draining you. It reveals the habits that sabotage you. It confronts the beliefs that limit you. And sometimes, it pulls everything apart, so you can see the truth with clean eyes. This is the sacred unraveling before the rise. This is the doorway to your comeback. You're not behind. You're not broken. You're not late. You are being recalibrated. And the version of you that is emerging, the one with stronger boundaries, clearer intuition, sharper self-awareness, and deeper emotional maturity, is someone your past self could barely imagine. This is why you're here. This is why this message found you. Because the comeback isn't ahead of you. It has already begun. And you're beginning to sense just how powerful this transformation truly is. You can feel the tension between who you were and who you're becoming. It's subtle, but undeniable. It shows up when you hesitate before responding, when you pause instead of reacting, when you sense something is off, and finally trust yourself enough not to override that feeling. That's not fear. That's awareness. Your comeback is not loud. It's disciplined. It's intentional. It's psychological. It's the moment you realize you don't need to win the argument. You only need to win back your peace. It's the moment you see someone's behavior clearly, without taking it personally, without letting it attach to your worth, without letting it pull you back into old stories you no longer belong to. And it's the moment you understand you don't rise because people believe in you. You rise because you finally believe in yourself. Jung called this the process of individuation, the painful yet necessary journey of becoming who you truly are, beneath the conditioning, beneath the childhood roles, beneath the expectations that shaped you before you could even speak. You're starting to feel that separation, that breaking off from old identities, that release of the roles you once played, to keep the peace, to keep the love, to keep the illusion. But look at who you are now. You no longer seek validation from the places that used to starve you. You no longer fight for a seat at tables where your soul never felt welcome. You no longer silence yourself just to be understood by people who can't even understand themselves. This is transformation. This is the moment when your past self dissolves and your true self steps forward. And yes, it will feel lonely at times. Change always begins in solitude. Your comeback requires silence, because silence is where your intuition becomes louder than your fears. Have you noticed how certain conversations no longer entertain you? How certain conflicts feel beneath you? How your desire to respond emotionally has been replaced with a deeper desire to protect your energy? That's not detachment. That's evolution. You're not losing people. You're losing the version of you who tolerated what those people represented. You're not becoming colder. You're becoming clearer. You're not quitting. You're recalibrating. You're not walking away. You're walking toward yourself. Friedrich Nietzsche once wrote, "One must still have chaos in oneself to give birth to a dancing star." And maybe, just maybe, the chaos you're coming out of was not a punishment, but preparation. Look at how much stronger you've become. How much faster you recognize red flags. How deeply you feel your own boundaries. How committed you are to not betraying yourself again. This is not the end. This is the awakening before the ascent. Your emotions are shifting. Your patterns are shifting. Your standards are shifting. Your sense of self is shifting. It's all changing quietly, powerfully, internally. And the world around you is about to reflect that change in ways you couldn't have imagined. You're walking out of who you were and into who you were always meant to be, and you can feel it building. Like pressure before a breakthrough, like breath before a confession, like dawn before the light. Your greatest comeback is already unfolding, and you're only at the beginning of it. There's something about this season of your life that feels strangely familiar, as if you've been here before, standing at a crossroads, knowing something must change, but not yet knowing how. Except this time, you're different. This time, you're not moving out of fear. You're moving out of awareness. You're not trying to escape anything. You're trying to become something. You're beginning to understand the deeper mechanics of your own mind. You're seeing how your emotions rise, how they move through you, how they try to pull you back into old responses, old wounds, old identities. But now, you pause, you breathe, you watch. This is mastery. This is the shift from being controlled by your patterns to witnessing them and choosing differently. Most people never get here. They stay trapped in the cycle, reacting the same way, to the same triggers, with the same stories they've told themselves for years. But you're breaking that loop. You're learning that your triggers are not signs of weakness. They're signs of where you're healing. They point to the exact places you are reclaiming your power. Every emotion you're feeling right now, the confusion, the tension, the pull, the resistance, is part of the psychological rebirth that precedes every comeback. You think you're tired because something is wrong. But what if you're tired because something inside you is expanding beyond its limits? What if exhaustion is the body's way of clearing space for the identity you're stepping into? What if the discomfort you feel is simply your old self being stripped away? Think about it. The people who once intimidated you no longer do. The situations that used to overwhelm you now seem small. The version of you who tolerated everything is gone. That's not by accident. That's by growth. You're not just healing, you're upgrading. You're not just surviving, you're restructuring. You're not just moving on, you're moving upward. This is the phase Jung described as the shadow confrontation, when the unconscious becomes conscious, and you face the hidden parts of yourself you once avoided. But look at you now. You're facing it. You're staying present. You're not running anymore. And that alone marks the beginning of a comeback so powerful that life had to prepare you for it. Through every loss, every ending, every shift. Let me ask you something, and answer it in your heart. Why did life suddenly remove certain people from your path? Why did it end situations you wanted to keep? Why did it force you to release things you once thought you needed? Not because you were unworthy, not because you failed, but because those attachments couldn't follow you where you're going. You cannot rise with weights tied to your spirit. You cannot evolve while clinging to versions of yourself you've outgrown. You cannot build a new life with the patterns that once destroyed you. So life took it from you. Life cleared the space. Life made the cuts you didn't know how to make. And now you're standing in the aftermath, feeling everything. The grief, the fear, the confusion, but also the quiet excitement of something new forming inside you. That feeling, that quiet knowing, is the first sign of your comeback. It's the inner whisper that says, keep going, you're almost through the threshold. And right now, whether you see it or not, you are crossing into a chapter that will redefine your entire existence. There's a point in every transformation where the outer world goes quiet, while the inner world becomes loud. You're in that phase right now. It's the space between identities, the gap between who you were and who you're becoming, a strange, suspended moment, where nothing looks different on the outside, but everything feels different on the inside. Your emotions are sharper, your intuition is louder, your tolerance is lower, your awareness is deeper. This is not instability. This is alignment. Your soul is rejecting everything that cannot follow you into the next chapter, and it's doing so without your permission, because you weren't going to leave on your own. Growth rarely waits for you to feel ready. It interrupts. It removes. It reveals. It exposes. You think your life is falling apart, but it's actually falling in place. The more you step back and observe, the more you see the hidden architecture behind it all. The arguments that forced you to finally speak your truth. The disappointments that pushed you to set boundaries. The endings that redirected your path. The isolation that showed you your worth. The silence that taught you to hear yourself again. Every piece of it was psychological preparation, a deeper training for the emotional intelligence you're now stepping into. You don't respond the way you used to. You don't absorb energy the way you used to. You don't internalize people's behavior the way you used to. Do you see how powerful that is? This isn't just healing. This is reprogramming. You are rewriting the emotional patterns that once governed your life without your awareness. The need for approval, the fear of abandonment, the desire to fix everyone, the tendency to silence your truth, the panic of disappointing others, the compulsion to earn love instead of receiving it freely. These were never flaws. They were survival strategies. But you're done surviving. You're ready to live. And that's why everything feels so intense. Because you are shedding layers you've carried for decades. You're feeling the weight fall off. And with it, your identity is shifting. This is why the world feels unfamiliar. Why your old habits feel uncomfortable. Why your old relationships feel misaligned. Why your old stories feel too small for you now. You're stepping into a self that you've only glimpsed in your strongest moments. The self with boundaries. The self with emotional clarity. The self with spiritual depth. The self with unshakable inner authority. And here's the truth. Most people never understand A comeback is never about proving people wrong. It's about proving yourself right. Proving that your intuition was never lying. Proving that your worth was never broken. Proving that your softness was never weakness. Proving that your voice deserved to be heard. Proving that your heart deserved to be protected. And you're doing that now. Quietly, boldly, deliberately. Human behavior always reveals the truth, especially your own. And when you finally see yourself clearly, you can no longer live the way you used to. Not because you don't want to, but because you've outgrown the internal structure that once held that version of you together. This is why the discomfort feels so deep. Why your emotions feel so raw. Why change feels unavoidable. You're not breaking down. You're breaking open. And everything that is coming next requires this version of you. The one who listens. The one who observes. The one who refuses to betray their own soul again. Your comeback is not a moment. It's a becoming. And you are right in the center of it. There's a certain clarity that only arrives after you've been broken open. A sharpness. A truthfulness. A depth of perception you didn't have before. You're beginning to notice it now. The way your mind catches things you once brushed aside. The way your body responds before your thoughts do. The way your intuition whispers with a confidence you can no longer ignore. This is not paranoia. This is discernment. You're seeing people more accurately. What they give, what they take, what they offer, what they reveal about themselves through their silence, their tone, their consistency, or lack of it. You're learning how to read energy, not words. You're noticing the difference between someone who respects your boundaries and someone who is irritated by them, between someone who values your presence and someone who only values your usefulness, between someone who is meant to stay and someone who was only meant to teach. This is emotional maturity forming in real time, and it's changing everything. You're beginning to understand that you don't owe access to anyone who cannot meet you at the level of honesty you've worked for. You don't owe softness to people who thrive on your silence. You don't owe patience to people who exploit your kindness. You don't owe comfort to people who are uncomfortable with your growth. This is the psychological shift that signals the start of a true comeback. When your self-worth starts shaping your relationships instead of your fears. For the first time, you're choosing yourself with intention. And here's the fascinating part. Your nervous system is catching up. Slowly, quietly, steadily. That anxiety you used to feel before setting a boundary, it's dissolving. That guilt you felt when you put yourself first, it's weakening. That pressure to be perfect, it's losing its power. You are reconditioning your internal world, and your external world is about to shift. Because of it, you're beginning to notice that some situations no longer trigger you. Some people no longer intimidate you. Some fears no longer hold you hostage. Why? Because you're not the same person who walked into those experiences. You've been rewritten from within. Nietzsche once said, "Become who you are." And that's exactly what's happening. You are becoming the person your pain was preparing you to be. You are becoming the person your old self didn't have the strength to embody. You are becoming the person your future requires. And with every shift, every realization, every moment of emotional honesty, you move deeper into alignment with the life that's waiting for you. Your comeback is not in the future. It's in your decisions, your clarity, your new standards, your refusal to abandon yourself again. It's happening right now, in this moment, in this version of you that you worked so hard to reach. And you can feel it, like a faint electricity beneath the surface, like a quiet rise in your spirit, like a knowing you can't put into words yet. Stay here, stay present, stay awake. Because what's coming next requires this awareness, this strength, this emerging identity that no longer fits inside the person you once were. And now you can feel it. The weight of who you used to be is lifting. The clarity of who you are becoming is settling in. The quiet strength inside you is asserting itself with every choice, every boundary, every breath. This is your comeback. Not a moment in time, but a continuous rising. A reclamation of your power, your worth, your truth. Look at how far you've come. Look at the courage it took to sit with your pain, to face your patterns, to honor yourself in a world that often resists it. You are stepping into a life that mirrors your inner evolution, a life shaped not by fear, but by wisdom, not by chaos, but by mastery, not by others' expectations, but by the integrity of your soul. And the most powerful part? This is only the beginning. Every decision from here, every moment of awareness, every act of self-respect, is a brick in the foundation of the life you were always meant to live. So take a deep breath. Feel your strength. Feel your clarity. Feel your return to yourself. Because this comeback is unstoppable. If you're ready to keep growing, to keep stepping into your power, and to witness the next stages of your evolution, make sure to subscribe now. So every insight, every reflection can meet you exactly where you are and help guide you to the life you are destined to rise into.